You're listening to episode 26.5 of Stay on Topic, the most overrated podcast that originates out of Corning, New York. If you want to get in touch with us, hit us up on email, stayontopic111 at Gmail. Hit me up on Twitter at Giltastrophe, or James
at PostJam9,
or Bob
at Bob Ricotta.
And to my left, the most overrated fantasy football league player, Bob Ricotta.
By far. I think I'm going to go 2-3 this week.
Brutal.
Yeah.
And the most overrated gamer on this podcast, James Post. Don't even have a platinum trophy, man.
That's fair.
And I'm Chris Gill, the most overrated rum drinker in this room right now. I'm severely hungover from too much rum last night. So this is going to be great.
Oh, yeah.
James has a cold. I'm hungover as hell. And Bob couldn't sleep last night. So this is going to be... Buckle up, everybody.
It could be gold. We may have hit the formula.
I want to do this podcast robo-tripping just once.
I'm in.
Cool. Make that happen. This week in the news, our president trolled athletes on the internet.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
I found myself wondering if he was specifically going after the owners in reference to the NFL because he assumes they own the players.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Most of the players are black.
Exactly.
He went after Steph Curry.
It's like, why can't you get your people in line? Get out the whips.
There is no punching down to this guy. He will take on. I mean, he took on Kathy Griffith, for God's sake.
Yeah.
Kathy Griffin.
Griffin.
Yeah.
So he will pick a fight with anybody.
And also in the news, healthcare is back.
Sort of.
Kind of.
I mean, it's not officially dead yet.
Yeah, there are things that could happen that could make it pass, but their big chance was for McCain to vote for this bill.
Right.
I think they really thought that having Lindsey Graham's name on it would bring McCain on. And when that didn't happen, I'm not sure there's that much of a plan B.
No.
Now, President Trump had said he still wants this to go for a vote just to put people on record. Do you think that's going to happen?
He keeps saying stuff like that because he's a political neophyte. He doesn't understand what things like that cost. I don't know what McConnell's going to do. I don't think he feels that beholden to Trump at this point.
No.
My guess is if there's not enough votes, there's no vote.
Yeah. And even if it got through the Senate, they do not have congressional support for this to pass it.
In the House?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't.
I can't imagine that they... I mean, just based on the other two false starts for this thing.
I think the House wants to get this done so desperately that they will vote for anything that they think the president will sign.
Well, that was a big concern with the previous go-around with trying to repeal and replace, was the congressional support was not there.
Yeah, and you know what's weird about this one is I'm still not sure where it stands in terms of parliamentary rules, because it's been made clear that there is not enough time before the deadline to get a full CBO score.
And that's McCain's big hang-up. He isn't against the bill per se because of its contents. He is hung up on the procedure that the Senate is taking to get this passed.
Yeah. Because in order to pass this under their current reconciliation authority, not to get too deep into the weeds.
I told you, Chris. Magic.
Magic.
But they have to pass something by the 30th. At that point, they're basically into a new budget cycle. The reconciliation process sort of starts over again. And the word is they want to use that reconciliation authority for tax breaks, for tax reform. So they, if they want shots at both, they need to do this now. And if they can't get a full CBO score in time, I don't see how the parliamentarian doesn't say, without any evidence that this lowers the deficit,
You need a
how can you pass this under reconciliation?
Right.
right.
Yeah. Also, looks like Paul Manafort's fucked.
Yeah, I mean, he has been, but
now it's he's fucked. we thought he might be, but now it's pretty clear that this guy's screwed, and I think everybody's anxious to see if he's going to sing or not.
Yeah.
yeah.
And usually that his ilk are just going to sing like canaries every time.
Somebody at his level, that's your target as a prosecutor.
Yep. A couple neat things. Preet Bharara, who was a former U.S. attorney, Bharara, has his own podcast now.
I saw that. I follow him on Twitter, so
Yeah, it's really good. He details how he got fired by President Trump, and his first guest was Leon Panetta. So I'm really looking forward to see what comes on down the line. I'm not sure. He just released the first episode this past week. I don't know if it's weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, or what, but I thought that was a cool thing. Also, Joss Whedon has taken over total control of the Justice League movie.
What does that mean at this point?
That basically means that this is not... Basically, Zack Snyder is nothing more than a second unit director.
It's gonna be Joss Whedon's cut.
Yes.
Okay.
And with his reshoots, he's totally cut Jesse Eisenberg out of it. Lex Luthor will not be in the Justice League. Just cut his role entirely. There was another role he cut.
Can't complain about that.
Yeah. The role of Iris West, just cut it. And we know that this guy's been a script doctor before in the past, with varying degrees of success or failure. So this movie went from I'll wait till it comes out on Redbox to holy shit, I got to see what becomes of this now.
At this point, you just have to see what happened, whether you expect it to be good or not.
Yeah, exactly. You guys got any news or notes?
No, you pretty much hit all the high points for me.
On to our main topic. Previous week's episode, we did the most underrated bands, which was a fun episode.
Yep.
This week, we bring the hate. This is our 5 most overrated bands. And again, generated quite a bit of chatter on the internets. Bob, what did you have for input?
Well, Kristen Butler brought up the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and she was not alone. The Peppers garnered a lot of votes. Stella Wood Dupree said Journey.
Agreed.
Pretty
overrated.
I don't know. I don't know if Journey is revered as musicians or if they're revered as kitsch.
A little bit of both.
I mean, Neil Schon.
Are you saying they're overrated even as kitsch?
They're no B-52.
There's better kitsch out there.
I love the B-52s.
I do not.
God damn it. They should have been on my underrated list.
I do not like the B-52s.
They are fan-fucking-tastic. Did you have any others?
Nope. Those are the
James,
two.
which one did you have?
Well, I had one delivered in person because he was unable to get online to post his list.
That's how dedicated our listeners are.
Yeah, that is Mark Webster, who wanted to throw in U2, the Sex Pistols, and REM.
Don't agree with the Sex Pistols. I can see where you can make a case for the others.
He was saying the Sex Pistols had one good album.
They only had one album.
Exactly.
Guys, I got this covered.
Okay.
So,
yeah, on the Facebook, Benjamin T. Johnson's top 5 most overrated bands: U2, Dave Matthews Band, U2, and U2.
Yeah.
Ben really fucking hates
and
U2.
And I will be an apologist for U2 because the height of their douchebaggery is Rattle and Hum.
Yeah.
Talk about self-importance. But they seem to... with their next phase with Achtung Baby and that whole era, they seem to be in on the joke. they kind of embraced their own ridiculousness, and you know, they made that work for them with the whole Zooropa's tour, and then they moved on and reinvented themselves again. You know, I can understand not liking U2, especially, as I said, the at the height of their puffery, but I respect them for finding new sounds while still, you know, that ringing guitar of the Clash, or the
Edge.
The Edge, the Clash.
Who has the most magnificent rack ever created for a guitar player.
Yeah,
not his chest.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I was going to say, if you're going to go with most magnificent rack on a guitar player, I'm assuming we're going to Heart somewhere.
Yeah, Nancy. Which one was Nancy? Which one was the pretty one? Nancy or
Bob?
Ann?
They're both pretty in their own way.
Which one was the most objectively pretty? That was Nancy, right?
I'm leaving you on your own with this one. I brought it up, so it's my fault.
We
but
don't
I
want
want
to
you
offend
to
the
go
heart.
down- I want you to go down with the ship. Is the point?
Oh, I'll go down with the guitarist of Heart.
Okay.
Anyway,
Nancy had the figure and had the face.
Ann was the guitarist, right?
And was the vocalist.
Then okay, we spent
and was prettier than Nancy, but Nancy had the bod and was a larger gal.
okay.
Which one of them has a new band now?
Both pretty in their own way. I don't know.
One of them has a new band that's being described as a supergroup, and I can't.
It's Nancy. Yeah, I have heard of that.
Okay.
But I don't know who else is in it, so it can't be that super.
Yeah, I shouldn't bring things up when I don't know anything about them. But
We do it all the time.
I was going to say, we're
that's the
26
base-
episodes into this thing, man. This is what we do every week.
yeah,
Did you have any others, James?
nope.
Okay, Charlie Crable, Dave Matthews Band, Rolling Stones. Yeah, he really hates the Rolling Stones.
which I strongly disagree with.
Yeah, I like the Stones. I mean, they weren't game changers like the Beatles or anything, but they were damn good at what they did.
Yeah.
And still do. John Simcoe had the best burn of anybody, called the Dave Matthews Band the khaki pants of rock and roll. Nice
What's
burn.
wrong with khaki pants? I'm wearing khaki shorts right now.
I know, James. We'll let it go. Simcoe also thinks Metallica's very overblown. He said they have terrible lyrics except that one song.
That one song that one song?
Yeah. Yeah, there were so many conversations that sprung off this that it's tough to find out. Eric Hoffman, our wrestling
Well, you're
buddy.
the one who drags things around the circus. You know, it's
What?
things are going. You start these threads to get responses,
Yes.
and then you start arguing with people, and things go off the rails.
Oh, yeah, constantly. Crable also threw in Kiss. Eric Hoffman, our wrestling buddy, who's an actual wrestler, he picked Nirvana, Kanye West, Britney Spears, which I thought was odd, Barbra Streisand, and the Stones. Thought that was weird. Scott Stanton went with the Stones, post Cliff Burton Metallica, every rap artist, every country artist, anything with electronic drums.
Just hate.
Yeah.
I'm full of hate.
He just likes his meat and potatoes rock and roll.
Yeah.
Scotty Brower suggested the Florida Georgia line is pretty overrated. So is Kanye West. So is Taylor Swift. So is Nirvana. And Rod Burdick, who is quite an accomplished guitar player. He thinks Van Halen, Kiss, Scorpions, Maiden, and Shinedown are all very overrated.
I thought about Scorpions, but I couldn't determine whether they were overrated or I just didn't like them. So I left them off the list.
Yeah.
See, I'd be arguing in my head whether they're highly rated to begin with.
They're among a certain population, they are considered
Yeah.
if not gods, then demigods.
Well,
Mainly in
and
Germany.
I think we're going to get into that when we get to our lists.
Yeah. Paul Peters, our New Jersey racing buddy, suggested the Eagles are overrated, as is Zeppelin, Elvis, and he read the question literally on Twitter. So I put band/artist, and then he put Andy Warhol.
I believe Andy Warhol did have an album.
He also had a few movies.
Stella Dupree named more than 5. That included Beck, Journey, Nirvana, Metallica, Kiss, Dave Matthews Band, getting a whole lot of hate. Maroon 5 and Fish.
Beck, really?
Yeah. Lord Buffington suggested.
We need a drop right there. Like
I know, we do.
The bugles or like the whole.
Or an air horn. Or
There you go.
something regal.
Yeah.
So every time I say, Lord Buffington.
Bum, 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 bum.
Excellent.
Perfect.
His number 1 pick was U2. He had Genesis, both the Gabriel and Collins versions. Just doesn't like Genesis. Duran Duran. I thought they were a perfectly good pop band.
Sure.
The Ramones, which we're gonna fucking
What?
fight. Yeah. The next time I see Lord Buffington,
Ba, 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 ba.
we're gonna fight. And Pearl Jam.
I disagree with that one as well, but
Yep.
you know, this is why we do this.
And some random ones that got tossed in were like Slayer, very overrated. They're really, when you boil it down, a one-trick pony. So, and on to our list. We'll start with Bob Ricotta.
Okay. And these are in no particular order. I'm going to start with Weezer. Weezer was seen as, if not one of the best bands of the 90s, at least one of the most influential.
Influential.
Yeah.
I have a tough time putting that adjective with
They're
Weezer.
a perfectly fine band.
Yeah.
I kind of liken them to presidents of the United States. They make some catchy power pop. They have some hooks. I honestly believe the Rivers Cuomo went to Harvard, got a degree in literature or English from Harvard, and I find Weezer's lyrics mostly insipid.
Yeah.
They're not known for their lyrical depth, at least not what I've seen.
No.
So, you know, Weezer is a perfectly okay band. If Buddy Holly comes on the radio, I'll probably leave it on. I love the song Hash Pipe. But I don't see them as being one of the best bands of the 90s.
No, I totally agree with it. And they're overrated because everyone thought they were amazing and great. And
I was listening to them on YouTube, and I wrote the words forced nerdiness.
yeah, there's something not quite genuine.
Right.
Yeah, and I've never been able to quite put my finger on why.
Yeah. That they've got they kind of have that thrift store aesthetic that Kurt Cobain had.
Yeah.
But for some reason Cobain pulled it off, probably because of the heroin.
Yeah, right.
But you know, you go to Princeton, you know, go to Benetton and buy a shirt or something. Quit shopping at thrift stores. Is Benetton still a thing?
Yeah, because they still sponsor F1 cars.
Okay.
So.
All right. So Weezer, number 5.
Nice. James, what do you got?
Well, mine really aren't in any particular order.
We're saving the one for last, right?
The one we all agree on?
Yep,
Oh God, I'm not sure which one that is now.
I do. It's been mentioned before. Second one on my list. Can you read it? This is compelling audio, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll save that one for last.
Yeah, but that one and the next one on your list are both on my list. So
Well,
Okay.
we're going to have some crossover.
Yep. So, okay. James, what do you got for number 5
okay,
now?
well now I'm skipping the first one on my list then.
Magic.
Yeah.
We really should have discussed this before we recorded.
So my first one, I guess, is The Doors. And I know people swear by them. I swear if Morrison hadn't died, we wouldn't even be talking about the fucking Doors right now.
Amen.
Being trippy by virtue of actually tripping balls all the fucking time is not talent.
No.
And their top singles, Light My Fire, Hello, I Love You, and Touch Me. Those are their, million plus singles. They're all so simplistic.
Yes.
They all make like really early Beatles tunes sound like Mozart in comparison. And just as a personal note, I had absolutely no idea how to make good use of electronic organ, despite having a phenomenal keyboardist in the late Ray Manzarek.
Well, Jim Morrison noticed how to use it in his organ.
That's just
Or knew.
fuck the Doors and fuck that Val Kilmer movie too.
Yeah, they're my first pick as well. And rather than tread over your, my thing is the public reception of the Doors in their moment and after. Everybody thought these guys were great poets, and their songs are trash. Like, they're not good songs. There are people that will hold the Doors above, in terms of songwriting, above a Springsteen and it's what? That's why I think they are so overrated.
Yeah, they are a product of their time, and it was the whole hippy dippy aesthetic of the '60s. And if something is indecipherable, it must be deep. I think Dylan.
Yeah.
But that was very decipherable. Like, their lyrics are not complex whatsoever.
Well, you have songs like "The End."
Yeah, but I just assumed that he had no idea what he was doing.
And
Yeah.
that's very much.
And it's
That's very much possible. I'm just saying that in that time when people were into consciousness expansion and things of that nature, and I think Bob Dylan falls into this category too. If something is indecipherable, that must mean it's great. and I'm not defending that. I'm saying that's why the Doors are so revered right now.
and I, just because I don't really appreciate that comparison, because I really think Dylan is one of our great 20th century poets. I don't think he was really that great as a musician. I think he was an amazing lyricist, and that his lyrics rise to the level of poetry.
Okay.
Unlike the Doors, who people put in that same
Exactly.
category.
And-
That's what drives me nuts about them.
And as a liker of the Doors, I will say their best songs are their pop songs, like "Break On Through," "L.A. Woman."
Yeah, and I'm not saying like they were a fine poppy little rock band.
Yeah.
But to make them out to be
I
the way
agree.
people
I agree.
did,
They belong on this list.
They made this this big resurgence in the 90s, mainly due to the Val Kilmer
Yeah. That
movie.
was 92, 93 that movie came out. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw it at a drive-in with a girl. It was kind of great. So I didn't really see the whole movie.
I was going to say.
Anyway, yeah, it drove me mad because even then, like, I knew I could not quit making these guys out to be music gods. They're not.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was my number 5 pick as well. So we're done ranting on the Doors. Ricardo, what do you got?
This is not the first time you've heard this band's name, Kiss.
Mm-hmm.
In my notes, I wrote, "Never has a band done so much with so little talent." You guys know a lot more about the music part. Is it correct to say that the best musician to be in Kiss was the drummer?
Carr?
No. The one that got kicked out. The one that
Carr?
I was,
I mean, they've kind of burned through
yeah. I
a
mean,
lot of drummers, but
Gene Simmons is not an exemplary bassist.
not at all.
No.
Paul Stanley, not a great guitarist.
I think his guitar is usually unplugged.
Yeah. And God bless him.
And really for the best.
Yeah.
They really made a fine living off of theatrics.
It's like Yoko's mic.
And even their guitarists, Ace Frehley and Vinnie Vincent, they're two big time good. Not that great.
No. I mean, Fraley is okay.
He wrote some really catchy riffs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think Kiss is overrated mainly by Kiss. I mean,
Well, they're a publicity machine.
Yeah.
I mean, they had their own pinball machine, for God's sake.
It was a good pinball machine.
Yeah,
Yes,
it
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 was.
was a better pinball machine than they are a band by a long shot.
That's going to make our list of top 5 pinball machines. So,
Oh God, I could do that list. Let's do that list next time.
So yes, Kiss. Good on you guys for taking a theatrics and a little bit of talent and feeding yourself for years to come.
And ending up with, you know, a crazy TV movie where they fight a witch.
Yeah,
The Phantom of the Paradise, right? Kiss meets the Phantom.
The Phantom of the, it's like a amusement park or something. I don't remember exactly.
I think I saw that when it was aired. It's an original airing.
Wow. Yeah, it was like an ABC original movie or something.
Yep.
And also not a bad shooter game. Kiss Psycho Circus, the video game.
oh my god, I forgot that existed.
All the different characters had their own powers, like from their mythology,
Like in real life.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I loved the Family Guy's Kiss Saves Christmas. It was really quite hysterical. Everyone knows the one thing a pterodactyl hates is the sound of a rock guitar. Yeah, so Kiss. Good little poppy, shock rock, glam rock, everything thrown in band.
I saw them in concert. They were a lot of fun.
But I can't even put them in like top 20 greatest bands of all time. I can't even squeeze them in there. I mean,
I would argue they don't belong in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
ooh, wow, that's wow.
That's, I mean, they're hovering around the Monkees in terms of the difference between presentation and actual substance.
Wow, the Monkees not on this list. James, what's on yours?
My next one is Elvis Presley.
I'm fucking with the king.
And I feel like this one almost goes without saying at this point. I almost feel like I don't have to make an argument for this, that, you know, listeners will know what the argument is.
Yeah.
And setting aside the specific cases, like Hound Dog, Blue Suede Shoes, where he directly whitewashed music by a black artist, his career in general was taking the black style of music and making it acceptable for white audiences. The man had absolutely no talent. He didn't steal from someone with darker skin than him.
I will argue that Fat Elvis was the best Elvis. Las Vegas Elvis, in my...
Well, he started at least doing different things later.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed that Elvis. But yeah, to your point, everyone, they call him the king of rock and roll and shit, and it's like, he stole everything. Did he even write a song?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of his songs were original. A lot of his songs weren't covers, but the sound was stolen. It was black music being played by a white man so that it was okay for white teenagers to buy the records.
Yeah, I mean, you can't argue with what he did in terms of changing the landscape of pop music, because he certainly did that.
So here's a question. If Elvis Presley never came along, would someone else have done what he did, and that would be the king of rock and roll? I mean, was that eventually going to happen, and Elvis was just right person, right time?
That's usually the way these things work.
Yeah.
And really, I hate to rip on the man too much, because he was very much a product of a producer. And God, he had a legendary producer that basically gave Elvis all the stuff to do, and he was told what to sing, how to sing it. I mean, Elvis Presley had a pretty decent voice, and he was just really taken advantage of by the people around him. Up until his last breath, he was controlled by people taking advantage. So I have somewhat of a sympathetic tilt towards Elvis, but because he very much was a product.
Yes.
And that's probably why he's overrated. Not a lot genuine there.
Yeah.
My next pick is going to be a genre. Pop country. Not country western. Contemporary pop country. That shit that you hear all over the radio stations.
Like Florida Georgia Line, Dierks Bentley.
All with
the guy from The Voice. What's his name?
Keith Urban something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't even bother to learn their names. But basically, pop country is what happened when hair metal went away. There were a lot of producers out of work. And all the producers that gave like Def Leppard their sound, they went and joined country artists and gave them a poppy, more welcoming sound than the banjos and the fiddles. And again, product. That's what pop country is now. There's no soul left to it. And they'll drop in little things like, driving my trucks to go to a bonfire with my friends and drink beer. Every goddamn song is like that.
I think what's really a shame about that is that the beginning of what became pop country, the initial breakthrough of country music into the pop scene was Garth Brooks.
Yeah.
And Garth Brooks was really a very talented artist.
Okay.
And it's not my thing, but he was doing legitimate country music that was just a little more polished, a little more
because he got the hair metal producer to get the No Fences album, which blew the fuck up.
But if you put what he was doing in the 90s next to something like Florida Georgia Line, it's like, how did this happen?
How did this
because
metastasize?
He was still staying true to the roots of what he was, coming from in country western music, and somehow it just mutated into something terrible.
So, two short stories. Well, I've often said that modern country, I think Rolling Stone dubbed it bro country.
Yes.
Which I really like. Every song seems to have an identity crisis because they're all trying to prove how country they are. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, we've mentioned back roads, we've mentioned tight jeans, we've used the word country 6 times. We're a country song. My daughter likes that genre of music. So we were listening to it and I was telling her how bad it was. And I said, I'll bet you I can write a country song in a day. And I followed the formula and I wrote a song called Drinking Tea with Jesus or something about a little girl who has a tea party with Jesus asking that her daddy comes home from Afghanistan.
Oh
God.
Jesus.
But that's what it is. I mean,
I want to hear this song so bad.
James has a guitar.
We got a guitar, we got mics, we've got a mixing board. We'll record this. We're going to append it to the end of this podcast.
But I mean, it's almost like it's produced.
People are going to be so disappointed when that does not show.
Shit, now I got to write a real song. So, but yeah, it's formulaic.
Yes.
It doesn't aim for any higher thought. It's all like,
you know who I blame? You know who I think was the fulcrum between Garth Brooks and Florida Georgia Line?
Shania Twain.
Shania Twain.
Yep.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah, she married one of the 80s producers.
Yeah.
And that's how she got her sound. And everybody picked up that baton and ran with it. But what's it's not the sound so much. It's the content of the songs. It's terrible. It's repeated over and over and over. And it has no value whatsoever.
It's lost even the political, like the political bent that sort of drove country for 15 years.
Yeah,
that's bro country doesn't really feature any of that.
Not a lot. I work at a place,
and whether you agree with it or not, at least it was standing for something.
Yeah.
Bro country just stands for God, please give me money.
and I have to give credit where credit is due, because in the midst of all this horrible music, there are bands like the Dixie Chicks that are producing decent country music and aren't relying on formula.
I was going to say, I work at a place where they have the radio on in one of the parts, and I'm up there a lot, and I hear all this. And there are only a precious few songs that I've heard from that genre that I'm like, wow, that's an actual song. Holy shit. And I'm always surprised to hear one of those. So, yeah, I know it's kind of cheating to do, but this specific genre is so of its time, it may as well be one band. So, yeah, that was my pick. Bob, what do you have?
I have a band that epitomizes style over substance, and that is the Sex Pistols. The Sex Pistols are the monkeys of punk rock. They were literally put together by Malcolm McLaren as an image. They couldn't play instruments when they were put together. And it's very arguable that Sid Vicious died not knowing how to play an instrument.
Steve Jones is a pretty damn good guitar player.
Okay.
If you listen to him outside of the Sex Pistols, he's really damn good.
Okay. I can't stand Johnny Rotten. I can't stand it. Johnny Rotten, Johnny Lydon, whatever.
Yeah. He should have dropped the act decades ago.
Yeah.
But he keeps it up.
And they weren't breaking any new ground. They weren't doing anything that bands like the Ramones and the Buzzcocks were doing a couple of years earlier.
Yeah.
They just
the Buzzcocks were doing it better.
Yes. They just packaged it well, and McLaren sold it.
Well, they were out to shock the middle class because they were British. But that was basically their purpose in life, was to shock people.
Yes. With
their lyrics, with their antics. Whenever they went on a talk show in Britain, they just dropped the F-bomb all the time. And that was their thing. They were just out to shock people, and that's it.
So
that said, I still love listening to Anarchy in the UK.
Sure. It's an okay. I mean, never mind the Bollocks isn't a horrible album. It's just this band does not deserve to be put on any kind of Mount Rushmore of punk rock forefathers.
Yeah, I get it. I hate it because I really liked Sex Pistols. Were like one of my first, bands when I did the whole rebellious heavy metal thing, and so it's tough for me to swallow. But yeah, they were just like Elvis, just kind of a product.
Yep.
James, what do you got? Something more upbeat, I hope.
Next on my list is Metallica.
Yeah, this is one where we're gonna fight. Go on. Say your
and this is not to say that I don't like Metallica. And I'll even cede the point that I know Gil is going to make, that they created a genre. That's, fair enough. The problem is when I listen to the music and lyrics and actually pay attention, there's just not that much there. There's no particular thematic depth in the ideas and no set of themes that they've worked on and developed over their career. And nothing interesting going on with the notes and the chords themselves either. I mean, to my ear. They're exciting when they're supposed to be exciting. But I don't find myself thinking about any of their songs after the last note. The music and lyrics are serviceable. And while that's good enough to get me to listen to them from time to time, it's not good enough to be one of the best-selling acts of all time.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Because Metallica is... If the Beatles were peace and love, Metallica is the rage and hate.
Yeah.
That's the purpose they serve on the musical spectrum. And that's what you get, especially in their early stuff. And even they've kind of gone back to their punky roots, which is cool with their latest album. But they have one of the best guitar players in the world, Kirk Hammett. The man is a maniac.
And
that's
fine.
Yeah, one of the best rhythm guitarists.
It's got to be in
ever.
service of something.
The knock that you can make on Metallica is they have no rhythm section. Like, Lars Ulrich is a terrible drummer.
Yeah.
It's astonishing that he's made it this far. He was almost kicked out of the band way back when they were cleaning house and booted Mustaine, who really, if you want to break it down, Metallica in title only started thrash metal. It was really Dave Mustaine who started thrash metal through Metallica. So let's clear that up. But yeah, they serve their purpose and they do it better than anybody else. And they always have. I don't think they're overrated. I think they're rated right about where they should be. They are exciting as hell to watch live.
And I guess exciting just isn't enough for me for them to be rated as high as they are. They are exciting. But if I listen to the same song, if I listen to one 3 times, I'm not going to hear anything new on the third listen. I'm not gonna hear, oh wow, that's cool. I never picked up on that. There's no complexity going on behind the surface.
No, it's and a lot of that is because they have a shitty rhythm section, and they don't even let the bassists do anything in that band. And they haven't since Burton. And it's a shame because Robert Trujillo is a phenomenal bass player, and you can't hear his shit.
Well,
there are plenty of knocks to make on Metallica, but they're
not afraid if they let him do too much, he's
overrated.
going to die. They've seen it all before.
So yeah, I would argue that no, they're not overrated. You can knock on them all
It's
you want.
not like we were going to agree on this.
No, but
It's the listeners can decide for themselves. I feel like there's just not enough there. It's not like I don't like them. I do like them a lot. I've listened to them a lot, especially when I was, a teenager or in my early 20s and angry with no particular direction.
yeah.
That's sort of what they do.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's angry with no particular direction.
And they do it better than anybody else. So that's why they're not overrated. But yeah, so that was a shitty pick. My next one is Michael Jackson.
Ugh.
Just another product. He only wrote about half of his songs. The others were written for him.
Yeah.
Quincy Jones gave him Rod Temperton. It wasn't Templeton. It was Rod Temperton, I think. But anyway, he wrote some of his biggest hits. The man could dance.
And sing.
Yeah,
the man could sing like a motherfucker.
Yeah.
I didn't get a lot of range from him. I mean, he could sing really high. He could hit some high notes, but there wasn't a tremendous amount of range.
He's not Mariah Carey.
No, I mean, he was a pretty good dancer. That's all I can really say about. He's way overrated. He didn't even know how to play an instrument.
I don't know that he didn't know how or that he just didn't play any.
I mean, he had to let his brothers play all the instruments for him in Jackson 5. But yeah, I don't know. I just think he's incredibly overrated, especially.
I mean, I'm not trying to argue with him. I think it'd be hard to argue. I think it'd be nearly impossible to argue, considering how highly he has been rated, that he's not overrated.
Right.
Trying to argue that Casablanca is not overrated. When it's that high, I don't know. But I don't know. This is one, if we were arguing most overrated comedians, it's one where it's hard to separate the personal from the career.
Oh no, I'm not even getting into his life off the stage or out of a recording studio. I'm talking about his body of work is not that accomplished. Didn't write half of his own shit. Didn't write Thriller, for God's sake. Which is probably like the best written song of his. And he had no hand in it. He was a product. As soon as he was old enough to talk, his dad pushed him in front of lights and told him to sing. And everybody in his life...
It turned out he was pretty damn good at it.
As soon as Tiger Woods could walk, he was given a golf club.
And that ended well. Ended up on his Cadillac. No, Michael Jackson's just way overrated. He was, here, Michael, sing these lyrics and go dance around. That was the sum of his career.
See, again, I don't disagree with you, but I think you go too far.
No, not far enough, James. So yeah, Michael Jackson.
What would be too far?
His personal life. Factoring that into why he's overrated, that would be too far.
Huh.
But because he was a weird dude. What do you got, Bob?
I got, and this is my personal number one, a band I have nothing but contempt for. Aerosmith.
This one, I was surprised to see this.
Yeah, I just consider them the consummate one-trick pony. They found out how to tantalize and titillate using double entendres, and they just rode that for most of their career. I am not discounting Joe Perry as a guitarist, but Steven Tyler certainly has some talent as a singer. They found a shtick, and they stuck to their shtick.
Stuck to the shtick.
And then they made this.
I think we should just stop the show there.
Yeah, we're
not going to top that.
And then in the 80s, they reinvented themselves as balladeers and made a ton of money off movies and
an ass load of money.
Yeah. So I can't begrudge them that. They're late in their career. Why not cash in on Armageddon or whatever movie?
Pouring out your own daughter.
Yeah, a little bit.
Hey, she's all right. I like me some Liv.
Yeah, but that's it. She's just all right.
No, she's she's much more than all right. She's less overrated than the band. Aerosmith.
So, yeah, I don't know. They're just good time rock and roll. It's hard for me
to a certain 70s stoner class, they are thought of. Okay,
that's a good. You almost have to separate their career, like pre-pump and post-pump.
Yeah,
you do pre-pump. Holy shit, they're fucking great. One of the best American rock bands ever. Post-pump, oof. They are like so many of these on the overrated list. They're just pushing out product, and that's all they're doing.
I mean, Sweet Emotion, great song.
Terrific. I mean, Toys in the Attic is one of the best albums written by an American band.
And maybe Walk This Way just suffers from overplay.
For sure. Yeah, no doubt about that.
But still can't stand them.
But yeah, I would say using the pre-post-pump Aerosmiths against each other, yeah, I could see how they could go on an overrated list.
Thank you.
It's always like we're looking for Chris's approval on these. Like he's the boss of the podcast. You're not the boss of us.
I direct the show. I just keep it moving. What's your next pick?
Well, I've run out of ones that aren't repeats. So,
well, yeah. I mean, we're gonna double up at least twice with our next pick. So go on.
So my next pick is Nirvana.
Agreed.
And I honestly, I have notes for everything on my list but them. I didn't.
You don't need notes.
I didn't feel the need to write any notes for them. And it's not. I think the one of the biggest crimes of Nirvana is not that there wasn't any musical talent in there, but how much musical talent there actually was in there that didn't get used as part of Nirvana.
Yeah.
Obviously, Dave Grohl's still doing fine.
Yeah, doing pretty well. Even with a broken leg, the man makes out pretty well.
But no, just the worst version of what they were. There were so many more interesting grunge acts that could have broken, and it had to be them.
Yeah.
And, historians can argue about why, but God, I wish it had been somebody else.
Yeah.
They became the face of a genre that they had no right to.
And my biggest complaint with Nirvana isn't so much Nirvana, but people's reaction to it.
Yeah.
That's what drove me fucking crazy when they broke, was like, oh my God, this is all new. And it's like, no, it's not.
No.
They're not doing a fucking thing new. They're the Doors for that generation. They were way overblown. Their lyrics are borderline nonsensical.
Yeah, intentionally so, I'm assuming. I'd like to think so.
I hope so.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, this unrelatable. I mean, it's all just the whinings of a sad dude.
Yeah.
Which I don't personally like, and I hate it when
Whinings of a Sad Dude is one of my favorite bands. So don't say bad things about Whinings of a Sad Dude.
And I feel the need to stick up for Nirvana. And I'm only going to speak. I find them relatable. I find them raw. Their lyrics may not make sense, but I usually find a line that I find poignant or that I can relate to something. And they just right place, right time. You know, we were saturated with Hairspray from the hair metal bands.
I agree with the Raw part because I'm pretty sure nobody produced them.
Yeah, it didn't sound like anyone
there
was in
just
that room.
nobody in the booth.
Do you want us to do another take? No, you're good. Scram. Yeah, and again, music is so subjective. I mean, what speaks to one person doesn't speak to the other. My problem with Nirvana has always been the reaction by everyone else to them.
I understand that.
Yeah, that's
we tend to deify those who. I mean, if Kurt Cobain were still around making music,
it would be garbage. But yeah,
well, we don't know that. If Jim Morrison, if Janis Joplin,
Would he have been better if he had gotten clean or if he hadn't?
Great question. I guess
Like
I would
if he
have
was
to
playing now, and he had been sober for 15 years. Would that be better than if he was playing now and was still the Keith Richards of grunge?
I would have to do a deep dive and see if he was strung out, and if so, how strung out when he recorded the first 3 albums.
Yeah.
Although it's widely believed that Bleach is just terrible.
Yeah.
Like, it's unlistenable. It's
Never
so
heard it.
bad. Oh, God, it's terrible. It's kind of like White Zombie's first album. Yeah, it's just utter garbage. So, yeah, and the other thing about Nirvana, again, Kurt Cobain dies. Boom. Just,
Yeah.
sainthood.
Yep. And there's really where the overrated just kicks into high gear, and then you can't stop it. He's
It was enough to give Courtney Love a career.
So
have you heard the conspiracy theories?
Oh God.
Yeah, that Courtney Love paid somebody to kill him. There's some really strong evidence to support that claim.
Yeah. But you know what's interesting? I think an argument could be made that Hole was a more interesting band.
Yeah.
I like Celebrity Skin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a cool song.
I like the whole album.
I know what the songs mean, for starters.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like it was recorded under a garbage can. I mean, Hole was just a better band.
So
we really just put that on record.
I'm not gonna break any new ground with this, but I think a big part of being a teenager, early 20s, is a feeling of alienation. Even the star quarterback on the football team feels like he's an outsider at some point.
Did you write Daria?
If
Heavily influenced by
if you are a teenager and like Prague, you will gravitate towards Rush, and they speak about that feeling of alienation. If you like something a little more raw, you would gravitate towards Nirvana. If you like the heavy guitars, you would gravitate towards, I don't know, what thrash metal band talks about. Oh, I guess all of them.
mostly.
Yeah.
So if you're the star quarterback and you're feeling alienated, what is it you listen to when you feel like nobody gets you?
The Offspring.
Ouch. Shots fired.
So yeah, James's pick was my pick too. So
Okay.
Yeah.
what you got, Bob?
Well, I think this is the last one,
Is
right?
this the last we've?
Okay.
Yep, that's the last one on my list.
All right. Number one, and the only unanimous pick is Fish.
Fish. Ugh.
The Grateful Dead for Trust Fund Babies.
Nicely put. I call them the world's most popular cover band.
I've heard them were described as music for musicians.
No.
No.
No, if I wanted musical virtuosity in service of no particular ideas, I could listen to bluegrass.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they are, I guess, good at what they do.
Trey can play.
Yeah. I mean, they all can play.
They all play amazingly, and nothing that anyone could or should care about.
That's the big problem. They're all playing their own thing, and it doesn't sound like a song.
It's like they decided to be a parody of a jam band.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, and I'm not speaking from afar. I had to cover, when I worked at the local newspaper, I had to cover a fish magna ball at Watkins Glen. So I saw what everyone was going nuts about. And half of their set, or sets, because they did multiple, were all covers. Like,
which is cool.
It's cool, but you're just a big cover band. When they play the originals, there wasn't one song I walked away with. Kind of what James said earlier was, what I don't remember a damn thing about that song. It was just a bunch of guys all jamming, but none of it was cohesive. It didn't sound like it belonged in the same song.
Well, and but I think one thing you have to discuss with Fish is it's not like they're not an Aerosmith and they're not a Doors, as far as they have never reached massive, broad success among.
They don't have radio hits, so to speak.
But the people who like them worship them. And they can draw 200,000 people to a field full of mud to listen to
or
them.
an ex-army base in Maine.
Right.
Yeah.
With no facilities whatsoever.
And they can do this without any support of any album. Like, they haven't dropped an album in 10 years, but they'll still pack,
Yeah.
Have they ever dropped an album?
Yeah. Yeah.
I do own a Fish studio album.
Because, I mean, that's another thing is like, if you ask an average person, name a Fish song, what percentage of people are going to be able to name even one?
I think we're all really big into music. We love music. I can't name a Fish song. I can't name one.
I can. One.
The song one?
What's the one?
Down with Disease. It's off the album Hoist. I can name two. Wolfman's Brother. All right. So their lyrics...
You're not helping us, Bob.
Their lyrics are nonsensical.
Totally.
They're simplistic. And
then they're just fucking noodling on their instruments.
Constantly.
Like, look how fast I can play.
Well,
I don't give a shit how fast you can play. How good can you play? Show me that.
Or form a song.
Yeah.
They remind me of the Grateful Dead without the soul of the Grateful Dead. I mean,
that's a good description.
The Grateful Dead had some good story songs. They had some good fun time songs. I don't get Fish. I don't understand what they're talking about.
And I don't think the people that attend their music festivals or concerts care.
It's about community.
It's about the experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it all sounds awesome when you're in a mud field, stoned out of your gourd, rolling around in mud and tie-dye.
I literally saw happen. Like, people were just tripping balls and rolling around on the field. And but what I walked away from that
Woodstock,
weekend,
but 75 years later,
was the experience was like nothing else. I've never experienced anything like that. And it wasn't the music that was driving it. I mean, it was everything around it.
I would love to take you to a pre-Jerry Garcia, like before Jerry died, I'd love to take you to a Grateful Dead show. It is so interesting just to people watch.
But this isn't, they have a traveling town that they set up for their festivals.
Oh.
And these little towns have everything you could possibly want and shit you don't want. And they have all these really weird...
drugs?
No, those are great. That was my experience. They have all these like weird interactive things you can do. Like, there's this giant foam ear and a giant Q-tip that you can... And they just have... there's a lot of stuff to do at a Fish festival. That's why people are going.
I would think in the condition most people are in there, an interesting activity would be like operating an iron.
Yeah.
Or,
that's...
Holy shit, man, it's an iron.
You're not too far from the truth. So from their experience, the experience they provide for people is not overrated whatsoever. As a band, they are supremely overrated, like grossly overrated, because for all the points we just gave.
So, Fish, we at Stay on Topic give you the finger.
With a PH.
Three thumbs down.
Well played.
Yeah, so that's our list.
I got some honorable mentions.
Yeah,
if
I
you
was just going to ask.
Dave Matthews Band, Grateful Dead.
Really?
For the same, I don't like the noodling. I don't like.
See, and I don't feel like they were ever nearly as guilty of that.
No.
Not
as
nearly, but
And they made it work in the construct of the song.
Like they were playing fast. They were playing.
Uh-oh. Your mic just cut. Yeah. You
so
touched
so
your
the
mic.
the reason I would throw Grateful Dead in this mix is because I've listened to a lot of Grateful Dead songs. I've been to about a dozen shows. Nothing about the experience has made me say I want to ditch my life and follow this band around. And
No, I don't feel that way about any band.
well, there are people who do that though.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, they sell veggie grilled cheese sandwiches and beg people for tickets, and people make their life out of the Grateful Dead.
Yeah.
Or at least they used to. And that, I mean, talk about overrated. That's a cult right there. And it's not the band's fault. The band made some catchy, bluegrassy, bluesy music, but to abandon your life and follow them around and openly weep when they play Stella Blue for the first time in 30 years, no, it's just a band.
Okay, now that you say that, I get it.
Eric Clapton.
Yes.
Eric Clapton's a great guitarist, horrible lyrics.
And
As a solo artist.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bare Naked Ladies, I find them barely above a novelty act.
Yeah.
No, I think I mean, there was stuff I liked, but I think they were a novelty act.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's my honorable mentions.
James, you got any?
Not that I'm sure there are ones I considered for my list, but I didn't write them down. So
Yeah, the only one I can really expound on is Slayer. They are held up in such high regard by so many metalheads, and they're one trick. I mean, they play the same shit all the time. They've had one album where they kind of diverted from the Rain and Blood template, and it was great, and they never went back to it, which is a shame. So yeah, they're way overrated. There are bands that came up after them that are just way better. So Slayer's pretty damn overrated by everybody. That's the show?
Yeah, I think
that
so.
is the show.
All right. You gonna play us out, James?
Bum, ba, ba, bum.
Lord Buffington.